There have been a lot of rumors about your love life. Did you meet anyone special in Germany?
Not any special one. I had to be careful when I answer a question. The first thing I have to do is to cut some records.
Elvis Presley finally confirms what we thought all along. Have you ever wondered what secrets Elvis Presley kept hidden? What if I told you that he finally confirmed what we all suspected, revealing a side of him that has been hidden for decades? Get ready to find out what we've all been wondering about. Elvis Presley, whose voice shaped a generation, died young at 42. His death led to many rumors and speculation. Fans and the media have endlessly wondered about the true reason behind his early death. But in his final days, Elvis shared a secret that changed how people saw him, revealing a side even his biggest fans didn't know. What were these secrets? How well did we really know the king of rock and roll? In this video, we will uncover Elvis Presley's untold truth. Let's delve in. Elvis Presley, the iconic king of rock and roll, did not start with fame and fortune. He was born on January 8, 1935, in the small town of Tupelo, Mississippi. His parents, Vernon and Gladys Presley, faced poverty and hardship. The family lived in a tiny two-room house, and Vernon had trouble finding steady work. When Elvis was 3, Vernon was arrested for altering a check, making their struggles even harder and forcing the family to depend on neighbors and government aid. Despite these challenges, young Elvis found comfort in music. His first public performance was at the age of 10 at the Mississippi-Alabama Fair and Dairy Show. Singing Old Shep, he won 5th place, which also lit a spark in him. A few months later, his mother gave him his first guitar, a gift that would shape his future. Taught by a pastor at his church and his uncles, Elvis began to explore his musical talent. Although he was a shy child, his early musical influences came from gospel music at his church and country music on the radio. He admired artists like Hank Snow, Roy Acuff, and Jimmie Rodgers, whose styles blended into his unique sound later. As he got older, he started showing off his talents at school and nearby events, gradually overcoming his fear of performing. When his family moved to Memphis in 1948, Elvis was already heading towards becoming a worldwide sensation. His simple start, strong will, and love for music paved the way for his journey to fame. Elvis Presley's journey to becoming the king of rock and roll started with a simple but sincere act. When he was 18 in 1953, Elvis went to the Memphis recording service owned by Sam Phillips to record a song for his mom. He paid for studio time and recorded 2 songs, My Happiness and That's When Your Heartaches Begin, on a 2-sided acetate disc. Although he said it was just a gift for his mom, some believe Elvis wanted to be noticed by the music industry. Even though it was a personal recording, it set the stage for what would come. Elvis's career changed a lot in July 1954. He was recording with guitarist Scotty Moore and bassist Bill Black. At first, they didn't make much progress. Then Elvis started singing a fun version of Arthur Crudup's song, That's All Right. His happy energy and spontaneous performance caught Sam Phillips's attention. Phillips thought it was special, so he recorded the song. When That's All Right played on Dewey Phillips's radio show, people loved it. Many listeners called in to find out who the new singer was. This moment was when Elvis's big journey to fame started. After That's All Right became popular, Elvis started performing on the Louisiana Hayride, a radio show like the Grand Ole Opry. At first, people didn't get too excited about his first show, but his second one was amazing. The audience loved it a lot. Because of this, Elvis got a 1-year contract with the Hayride. This helped him get noticed and improve his performance. In 1955, an intelligent manager, Colonel Tom Parker, noticed Elvis's talent. Parker took charge of Elvis's career and got him a deal with RCA Victor, a big record company. This was a big deal because RCA could make Elvis famous nationwide. When Heartbreak Hotel emerged in January 1956, Elvis became famous. The song was #1 on the pop charts, showing everyone how talented he was. From starting small to becoming a big star, Elvis's journey to fame was quick and exciting. He changed music forever with his talent, perfect timing, and charm. In March 1958, Elvis Presley, who was becoming famous, had to join the U.S. Army. When he arrived at Fort Chaffee, Arkansas, many photographers took pictures of him. Even though he was a big star, Elvis wanted to be treated like any other soldier. He felt it was his duty to serve his country. Elvis underwent basic training at Fort Hood, Texas, and was put in the 2nd Medium Tank Battalion, 37th Armor. While he was on a break in August 1958, his mom, Gladys Presley, got sick with hepatitis. She got worse quickly, and Elvis got permission to go see her in Memphis. He got there just in time to spend a few days with her before she died on August 14, 1958, when she was 46 years old. Losing his mom was hard for Elvis. They were super close, and he said she was the most important person in his life. He was really sad, and he never fully got over losing her. After his mom died, Elvis went to Germany and was stationed at Ray Barracks with the 3rd Armored Division. He worked as a sergeant in armor intelligence. While he was there, other soldiers introduced him to amphetamines. He started taking them to help him stay awake and handle the pressures of military life. Soon, he relied on them daily, thinking they made him perform better. But this led to a severe addiction that affected his health for the rest of his life. In Germany, Elvis also became interested in karate, which he loved for the rest of his life. He started training with Jürgen Seidel, a great karate teacher. Karate helped Elvis find peace and focus during a tough time. Later, he even used karate moves in his performances, making his shows even more special. When Elvis was in the Army, it changed him a lot. Losing his mom hurt him a lot, and he turned to drugs to feel better, even though it was only temporary. But being in the Army also showed him new things and routines that stayed with him. All these experiences mixed shaped what happened next in Elvis's life. They made him stronger in some ways, but also left him feeling vulnerable. They also got him ready to come back to music and entertainment. Elvis Presley and Priscilla started dating when she was only 14, which caused a lot of talk later on. They met in 1959 when Elvis was in Germany for the Army. And Elvis liked her right away, even though he was 24 and she was much younger. He liked her and gave her lots of attention. Eventually, Priscilla's parents let her visit Elvis at his famous house, Graceland, but only after she finished school. In 1963, Priscilla moved in with Elvis at Graceland, and they got closer. Even though people thought it was strange because of their age difference, Elvis asked Priscilla to marry him just before Christmas in 1966. He did it because his manager reminded him about the rules in his record contract. They married on May 1, 1967, in Las Vegas at the Aladdin Hotel. The wedding was a big deal, but it was short, only 8 minutes long. Only a few people came, and after the wedding they had a press conference and a fancy brunch. At first, Elvis and Priscilla's marriage seemed happy, and they had their daughter Lisa Marie in 1968. But soon, they faced a lot of problems. Elvis was always busy with his career, traveling for shows and movies. He wasn't home much, and Priscilla had to care for Lisa Marie alone. This made her feel lonely and ignored. Elvis also cheated on Priscilla with other women, which made things even harder. Priscilla wanted to find herself and be happy, so she started taking karate lessons, inspired by Elvis's interest. That's when she met Mike Stone, her karate teacher, and they started seeing each other. Their affair made the problems in Elvis and Priscilla's marriage worse. They separated in 1972 and got divorced in 1973. Even though they weren't married, they stayed friends and raised Lisa Marie together. They still had a strong bond even though it was complicated. Even after they split up, there was still a lot of talk about Elvis and Priscilla's relationship. Priscilla wrote a book called Elvis and Me, which talked about some tough stuff. She said that Elvis was sometimes controlling and would manipulate her. One upsetting thing she wrote about was how Elvis would make love to her in a way that made her feel uncomfortable. He said that's how a man should be with his woman. These things showed that their relationship was complicated and not always healthy, even though they cared about each other. Elvis Presley wasn't just a music star, he also became famous in movies. He started acting in 1956 with his first film, Love Me Tender. This movie showed off his singing skills and started a long career in Hollywood. Elvis started acting because his manager, Colonel Tom Parker, thought it would make him even more famous and wealthy. But acting also greatly changed his music career, bringing both good and bad things. At first, Elvis's movies like Jailhouse Rock, 1957, and King Creole, 1958, were liked, and people went to see them a lot. These movies let him sing and act, showing he could do both well. But as time went on, the quality of his movies got worse. Colonel Parker cared more about making money than making good movies. So Elvis ended up in many movies with similar plots and cheap production. Movies like G.I. Blues, 1960, Blue Hawaii, 1961, and Girls, 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 1962, made a lot of money, but critics didn't like them much because they were boring and had the same stories over and over again. The movies Elvis made had a significant effect on his music. Even though they let him sing his songs, making the soundtracks quickly and having to come up with new songs all the time made his music suffer. Sometimes Elvis didn't even like the songs he had to sing for the movies. A songwriter, Jerry Lieber, once said Elvis would get frustrated and turn away from the microphone during recordings because he didn't like the songs. But even with these problems, some of the songs from the movies, like Can't Help Falling in Love from Blue Hawaii and Return to Sender from Girls, 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 became popular. But by the middle of the 1960s, people started to get tired of the same kind of movies and music from Elvis. The quality of the movies and the songs decreased, and he wasn't as popular as before. Between 1964 and 1968, he only had one big hit called Crying in the Chapel, showing how much his time in Hollywood affected his music career. Elvis was getting frustrated with his movie career. He wanted to do more serious roles, but his manager, Colonel Parker, only cared about making money. Two serious movies Elvis did, Flaming Star, 1960, and Wild in the Country, 1961, didn't do well, so Colonel Parker kept him doing musical comedies. During this time, Elvis started feeling like he couldn't be creative anymore, and he was getting increasingly disappointed. While Elvis was busy with his Hollywood movies, he found time to make one new album called How Great Thou Art in 1967. It was a gospel album that won him his first Grammy Award. This album reminded everyone of his genuine love and talent for music, which was a significant change from the songs he was doing for movies. By the late 1960s, with new music trends like the British invasion getting popular, Elvis's movies weren't enough to keep him on top of music anymore. He knew he had to do something different and did his famous 1968 comeback special. This special brought his music career back to life and let him connect with his fans better. Being in Hollywood was both good and bad for Elvis. It made him famous and rich, but it also took him away from what he loved most, making music. It made his music less special. After his time in Hollywood, Elvis wanted to be more accessible to do what he wanted with his music and return to his roots. This set the stage for one of the most remarkable comebacks ever in music history. Elvis Presley's career is full of amazing things that made him the king of rock and roll. From when he first started getting famous to his lasting legacy, Elvis changed music and how people see it in a big way. His journey is about hitting critical goals that show how awesome he was. One of the biggest things Elvis did was his huge success on the music charts. He has the most songs ever in the top 40, with a huge 115 songs, and the most in the top 100, with 152 songs. He was good at making songs that lots of people liked, showing how good he was at different kinds of music. Elvis had lots of #1 hits like Heartbreak Hotel, Hound Dog, Jailhouse Rock, and Suspicious Minds, which everyone still loves today. He mixed rock and roll, country, and blues to make a totally his own sound. Elvis didn't just have success with singles, he also did well with his albums. He holds the record for the most #1 albums by a solo artist in the UK, with 13 albums reaching the top spot. His albums spent 67 weeks at #1 on the UK charts, showing how much people loved his music there. Elvis has the most albums in the United States ever in the Billboard 200 chart, appearing 129 times. This amazing accomplishment proves how popular he was and how much people still love his music. Besides being successful commercially, Elvis also got a lot of awards and honors during his career. He won 3 Grammy Awards, all for gospel music. His album, How Great Thou Art, won him his first Grammy in 1967, and then he won for his live recording of He Touched Me in 1972. He also got the Lifetime Achievement Award in 1971. These awards show that Elvis wasn't just good at one type of music. He was great at many different kinds and had a big influence on all of them. Elvis Presley died untimely on August 16, 1977. It was a really sad day for music and entertainment. Before he died, people knew he wasn't doing well because of his health problems that had been going on for a long time. The night before he died, Elvis was preparing for another tour in Portland, Maine. Even though he was excited about the shows, his friends and family knew he wasn't doing well. He had been working too hard and taking too many prescription drugs. On that sad day, Elvis's fiancée, Ginger Alden, found him passed out on the bathroom floor at his Graceland mansion. They tried to help him, but it didn't work, and he was pronounced dead at 3:30 p.m. at the Baptist Memorial Hospital in Memphis. Elvis died from a heart attack, but many people thought that his use of prescription drugs for a long time might have been a big part of why he died. His last words to Ginger were sad because he told her he wouldn't fall asleep in the bathroom. But that's exactly what happened. When people found out that Elvis had died, it was shocking. Fans and the news couldn't believe it and felt sad. Elvis was a huge star who changed music and had so many fans, but suddenly, he was gone. Thousands of fans went to Graceland to say goodbye to him, and it felt like everyone was sad about it. President Jimmy Carter even talked about how much Elvis meant to American culture and how sad he was gone. Elvis's funeral happened on August 18, 1977 at Graceland. Family, friends, and many famous people went to say goodbye. The ceremony was sad, showing how much everyone who knew him was hurting. After the service, they buried Elvis beside his mom, Gladys, at Forest Hill Cemetery. But that wasn't the end of the story. Someone tried to steal Elvis's body, so they had to bury him again on October 2, 1977, at Graceland's Meditation Garden. It was a safe place where fans could come and remember the king of rock and roll. When Elvis died, people all over the world felt sad. His death was in all the news, and more people started listening to his music again to remember him. Some people even thought Elvis might still be alive, and there were stories about seeing him. The National Enquirer even printed a picture of Elvis in his coffin, which a cousin took, and it became one of their most popular issues ever. His death ended an amazing life and career, but it made him even more of a cultural hero. His music kept inspiring people, his movies stayed popular, and when people thought of rock and roll, they thought of him. Graceland became a holy place for fans, and people from everywhere came to remember him and honor what he did for music. Even though the king was gone, millions still loved him, and his legacy lived on. Ever since Elvis Presley's death, people have been wondering what happened. The official cause was said to be a heart attack because of heart disease, but not everyone believed it. Many people thought his health problems and the drugs he took for a long time had a big part in why he died. People started talking about what caused Elvis's death right away. Fans and critics didn't trust what the authorities said and pointed out that Elvis had been relying on lots of prescription drugs. He used these drugs to deal with pain, trouble sleeping, and other health issues for a long time. Some of the drugs he took were strong, like Demerol, codeine, and Dilaudid, and he also took sedatives and amphetamines. Because he took so many different drugs, some people thought his death wasn't just because of natural reasons, but because of all the drugs he was using. The use of drugs in Elvis's life was a big part of the argument. People knew Elvis had started taking amphetamines when he was in the army in Germany, and he kept taking them after that. At first, he used these drugs to have more energy, but over time he became dependent on them. As he got older, Elvis relied more and more on prescription drugs. His personal doctor, Dr. George Nicopolis, who people called Dr. Nick, was found to have given Elvis thousands of doses of different drugs in the months before he died. Because Dr. Nick gave Elvis so many drugs, his medical license got suspended later, adding to the debate about why Elvis died. There was also a lot of argument about what the autopsy showed. The official autopsy done by the Shelby County Medical Examiner said Elvis died from heart disease, and they didn't think drugs had a big part in it. But a report on his toxicology, which looks at the drugs in his body, showed there were a lot of drugs in him when he died. This report disagreed with what the autopsy said and suggested that all the drugs could have had a big role in causing his heart attack. Many people think that the real role of drugs in Elvis's death was made to seem less important to protect his reputation and to avoid causing a big scandal. When the Presley family asked for a private autopsy, it made people even more suspicious. Some people think the family didn't want the real reason for Elvis's death to come out because they wanted to keep his image as the beloved king of rock and roll safe. Because of all this secrecy and the different stories, there are lots of conspiracy theories about what really happened. Some people say Elvis faked his own death to get away from being so famous, while others think someone might have hurt him on purpose. Even though officials say one thing, people still argue about what really caused Elvis Presley's death even now. He was incredibly talented but had a lot of personal problems, and his death is still a mystery, which just adds to his fame. The king of rock and roll might not be here anymore, but people still wonder about what really happened to him, making sure he's always a big topic of interest and conversation as people try to find out the truth about the sad end of one of the greatest music stars ever. As we wrap up our journey through Elvis Presley's life, we want to know your thoughts on the king of rock and roll. Let us know in the comments below, and make sure to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more interesting